Thank you. Welcome to today's meeting of the ESPO Finance and Audit, being broadcast live on YouTube, and will also be available for members. Due to the current situation, this meeting is taking place virtually, along with officers presenting reports joining online. Can I please our officers have their microphone on mute until they wish they are about to speak. Please also turn your video on. I will monitor as best I can when hands come up, etc. So feel free to, and I've got my attendees on the side here, so I will attend to you as quickly as I can. So first, minutes of the meeting held on the 3rd of February 2021. I propose that the minutes of the meeting are taken as read, confirmed and signed as agreed. Is everybody happy with that?
Yep, fine.
Any form of indication I'm kind of agreeable with, so I'll take that as read. Number two.
Sorry, Chair Peter.
Pardon?
Sorry to interrupt. Can I just ask a question? Sorry, it was on point 99, paragraph 99, which is the top of bottom of page 5. We're referring to any other business from last time, and I just wondered whether it was incomplete. So the point says the committee considered this matter, the chairman having decided it was of an urgent nature, ... and it just wondered whether that particular paragraph needed to be amended from the old minutes.
Can I refer to Kat in terms of
sorry, that's just a mistake. I'll remove that from the final minutes because there wasn't any urgent item at the last thing. It's just from the template, so sorry about that. I'll make sure that's removed.
All right. Thanks for David for having ready to all.
Oh yes, he's right.
All right. Next item is advise to any other items which the chairman has decided to take as urgent elsewhere on the agenda. Does any member anything to add to this point? You'll have to bear with me. My agenda has disappeared off my screen, so give me a moment. We're about to resume business. It's just coming back. Right. Does any member have any interest that they wish to declare? That was the phrase I got to, and it disappeared on me. Nope. And item 4, Head of Internal Audit Service and Annual Report 2020-21, as set out on pages 7 to 26. Neil Jones, Head of Internal Audit Service at Leicestershire County Council, would introduce this report. Neil.
Thank you, Chair, and good morning, everyone. So you're quite correct. This is agenda item 4. It starts on page 7 of your pack, and it's the Internal Audit Service Annual Report for 2021. So what the paper explains is that I'm required under the Public Sector Internal Audit Standards to present an annual report to what the standards class as the board, and for ESPO, the board is the Finance and Audit Subcommittee. However, as we know, the subcommittee doesn't have any decision-making authority, and so it will be for the Management Committee to formally approve my annual report at its meeting on the 23rd of June. So there are specific requirements to incorporate into the report. The most important thing being my annual opinion on the overall adequacy and effectiveness of ESPO's control environment, and that is its frameworks of the systems of governance, risk management and internal control. So in terms of how I reached my opinion this year, may I ask members to firstly turn to Annex 1, which is starting on page 17 of your pack. That's the page with a shaded header in green. So starting there and then moving on to page 18, I explain how I use a combination of evidence to reach the opinion, including the findings of audits which Matt and the team have concluded, and they're summarised in Annex 2, which is pages 23 to 26. I also evaluate the control environment through observations, for instance, associated governance through this committee and management committee, and papers going to COG, and then policies and procedures. It's fair to say heads of internal audit are free to determine how they form their opinion. I personally choose to comment on each of the three components of governance, risk management and control. And whereas individual audit engagements that Matt and the team undertake provide targeted micro assurance, the overall opinion is different. It's a macro assurance over the defined period, which is the financial year. So I've got the facility to bring the assurance threads together, so themes, trends, evidence and professional judgment, and that provides effectively a holistic oversight of the organisation. Last year I did some further investigation into guidance from the Institute of Internal Auditors, and they provided a definition of substantial assurance, which I consider fits ESPO's position, namely that there's a sound framework of control operating effectively to mitigate key risks, and it's contributing to the achievement of business objectives, and that's been backed up by there's only one individual audit engagement this year, the audit of credit control, which was classed as a partial assurance, and I know Matt will be providing more detail on that in his progress report. There's been occasional medium risk rated weaknesses identified in internal audit engagements, but I have confidence in management's attitude to resolving the identified issues. So my overall opinion is listed at the bottom of page 19 in bold, and that opinion is repeated in the annual report itself and then summarised in the headlines of the cover report. I will stop there if anybody has any questions on forming the opinion. If not, I'll just continue. Does anybody have any questions?
Any questions? No, I think you can continue.
Okay, I'll continue then. So may I now ask members to move back into pages 11, which is headed the appendix, and that's pages 11 to 15, and this is the actual annual report itself. So after some background on page 12, I'll repeat the overall opinion at the top of page 13. And then starting through paragraph 8 to 14 is where I provide the summary context on the information contained in Annex 2, which is the summary list of audits, and explaining that for all assurance audits, 1 returned partial assurance and 7 returned substantial assurance rating. 2 audits remain in progress, work in progress, and we also provided 10 pieces of consulting work over the year. Paragraphs 17 and 18 outlines how the service performed. Paragraph 19 explains that at the time of compiling the report, I hadn't had the time at that point to conduct the annual self-assessment against the service's conformance to public sector standards, nor reviewed our improvement program. So these are internal to the workings of the service that I run. It's not necessarily to do with ESPO, it's the service I run. I have now, though, concluded those exercises, and I'll be reporting those to the County Council Corporate Governance Committee on the 4th of June. So these apply to ESPO and across all County Council as well. So, and from that, I've confirmed that we continue to generally conform to standards, and there were 2 additional improvement actions in terms of our quality that were added, but 3 were taken off and moved on. I will be updating this report to add those 2 elements in when I would take the final report to Management Committee on 23rd of June 21. Finally, at paragraph 21, as a reminder, the opinion, my opinion, helps to inform the annual governance statement, which has been the traditional method of reporting on governance arrangements, or any alternative governance report that may be developed. And that will be presented to a future management committee meeting. And finally, the cover report in paragraphs, page 8, paragraph 9, some headlines are a positive overall opinion again. The majority of planned work was achieved, and a small surplus of days was provided over the year, but within the just close to the budget and the financial budget as well. So that's all I have to say. Again, it's another positive year. I know Matt will give some more detail in his progress report. Are there any questions?
Any questions? No. All right. Next one on the agenda is progress against the 2020-21, 22 internal audit plans. Matt Davis, Audit Manager, will introduce this report. Matt? There he is, on mute.
Matt, you need
Beg your pardon, schoolboy error. Yes, it's the routine progress against plan report, and as paragraph 4 states, it effectively closes down our 2021 coverage that was agreed by management committee back in March 20, and introduces the 21-22 internal audit plan that was agreed 17th of March this year at the last meeting. In paragraph 5, we talk about our audit opinions, and obviously that's quite timely because, as Neil's alluded to, in paragraph 7 we talk about an impartial opinion rating that we've got and that we need to bring to the attention of this committee. What I'm going to do is just explain a little bit about the partial assurance opinion, and then hand over to David Goodhager to talk. But first of all, the partial opinion rating is in the area of credit control. We looked at credit control. The key areas where there were control weaknesses we identified are contained in paragraph 7, and to be honest, I've purposely kept them at a high level so that this committee can sort of get a feel for the issues, but are not swarmed by the details. So, as put in paragraph 7, and I can expand on these if needs be, we were looking at improvements required in procedures, in policies, credit control, debt management, in management information, in system access, in making sure the regulations are embedded into the business processes, and segregation of duties. I know there are other ones listed there, but that's the main areas. As I've said, in a minute, I'd like to hand over to David Goodacre, who wants to talk a little bit more on this from ESPO's perspective. But before I do, I just thought it was really important to stress just a few things. First of all, it's fairly rare that we give a partial opinions rating at ESPO, but inevitably it will happen sometimes. Obviously, the less the better. To me, it does prove that we're getting under the skin of ESPO processes, and that we're totally independent, and that we'll follow our professional standards, and we'll say if something needs significant improvement. I think actually we wouldn't be operating very effectively if we were finding everything perfect each time. So I think we just need the backdrop of that. It's also, to me, it's important how any organisation sort of responds to a partial assurance rating, and in ESPO's case, it was very professionally accepted. The points were accepted. David Goodhager, who's going to speak in a bit, recently appointed ESPO's financial controller, certainly took ownership of the issues. There's an implementation plan been put in, and I'm pains to say it is a robust one. To me, it's not a sticking plaster, and that was immediately put in place. And then again, without stealing David's thunder, there is an operational finance manager that's been recently appointed, and they're looking at it at the recommendations at more of a practitioner level. We have got a job in the 21-22 plan in order to fully revisit and test. So to make sure and to satisfy this committee that all the relevant risk mitigation actions are in place. So what I wanted to do now is hand over to David, and then I'll finish my report after David. And if I may, Chair, I'd probably suggest that on this particular issue, if we take questions and then go back to my report after David's spoken, if Christian wants to add anything, if that'd be okay, that'd be acceptable to you.
Yeah. I think everyone, let's kind of give it over to David now and see what you can get out of it.
Sure. Good morning, everybody. And thank you, Matt, for giving a comprehensive introduction. So the internal audit review has been very timely, actually, and has led to a series of recommendations which are all well-founded and really valid, and come across actually really setting getting really clear clarity on the purpose for credit control and how the team operate within guidelines. And we're working through the process now to action the recommendations. And as Matt said, one of the first steps to do that was to make sure we had the right resource in place to support us to do that. And we recruited a new role to that effect a couple of weeks ago. having first gone through a period of recruitment and some delays with that process. So we've got the right resource in place now and are working through to action the recommendations and get the core foundations in place to make sure that we can manage the risks that are identified in the report and get us on the right footing going forward. I'm confident that most of the changes that need to follow through aren't wholesale massive significant changes. They're all very manageable within the team. And the current timetable we're working to is to have made some substantial progress on this by August, so that we'll be able to update the management committee when it next meets in September with a thorough review of progress and hopefully some real demonstration of having cleared off some of these recommendations. I think at this point perhaps it'd be good just to see if anybody has any specific questions on any detail or anything else before perhaps handing back to Matt.
Anybody? No, you're getting a free ride at the moment, so I kind of hand back to Matt then.
Okay, thank you. So continuing, just looking at our close down of 2021 jobs, I don't want to dwell on this too much because Neil's gone into the detail already. But paragraph 10 summarises where we are with the jobs, and Appendix 1 shows the detail. So to summarise, we've completed 19 of the jobs of the 21. 2 remain work in progress, and then 2 were cancelled or deferred, and that was previously brought to the attention and approval of this committee as to why. Now what I would like to do before I take any questions is to summarise 21-22 work that we've done to date, with Appendix 1 again giving the details. I'm more than happy to take questions, but I think if I talk about 21-22 as well, it gives a full picture. So yeah, 21-22, obviously we're only 1.5 months into a 12 months plan, of which substantial amounts of the work can only be completed in Q2, mainly due to the amount of periods of testing required. But of those 21 jobs that are detailed, which includes an entry I might add for the 2 brought forward jobs, in paragraph 13 it makes it clear that we've progressed to varying degrees 11 of the jobs, which is pretty substantial. When I say progressed, it doesn't mean we're well into halfway in the plan. It means that we've approved how we're going to tackle some of the jobs, but actually in one of the cases, one of the jobs is actually completed already within the first month of the plan. So to summarise all of that, we've completed almost all the 2021 jobs. The results of the work were extremely healthy, including, a particular highlight was the successful website launch that we were heavily involved in, with one area to bring to the attention of the committee that we've already mentioned, being credit control. To me, for the period of time we are in the year, we've already made much progress on the 21-22 work. And as well as sort of the more routine work in 21-22, I think it's important to say that we're tackling emerging issues, such as credit control and revisiting that. Particularly, that's been of interest to this committee on numerous times is we're looking at cyber security, and obviously we've got an element there for tackling any emerging risks as well. So on the whole, very good. I'm happy now to take any questions.
All right, to the floor. Anybody got a question?
Well, yeah. Actually, it's not really a question. It's more a comment, really. It's just a comment. I think, considering what we've been through, I think it's been phenomenal, really, what's been done by the audit. And certainly, as I mentioned earlier before we started, I know the website's working because I've been on and tried it. So that's, and it was one of the big things, how the website was going to go. I mean, we've been looking at it now for about 18 months. So, I'm really pleased to see that's there, and that now Audit have sort of given it a tick. So I'm really pleased. Yeah, that's all I'm really going to say. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, Neil. You're not coming through.
I've got my microphone around the top of my head. Just to explain for the newer members about the governance arrangements for reporting high importance recommendations, because obviously this is the last Finance and Audit subcommittee of this year. So it's written into the Constitution that Management Committee has the responsibility of signing off the implementation of high importance recommendations. So that's where we'll take them whenever David and his team have reached a suitable conclusion. It may not be in a specific audit report, it may be a reference in the director's report, but Matt and David can work in conjunction on that to get something back to the Management Committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Neil. Any other questions? That's great, thank you very much. And so in that kind of we're kind of swiftly kind of moving on now. So item 6 is date of next meeting. Which I can say that the next meeting of the subcommittee will take place early 2022 and will be confirmed at a later date. So I'm sure Kat will put this into your diaries as and when. So at this point I have to exclude the press and public. The public are like to be excluded from the meeting during the consideration of the following items of business in accordance with the provisions of section 100A(4) of the Local Government Act 1972. I think at this point then we kind of go on to does this mean we have to kind of close that online, Kat?
Yes, I'm just waiting for confirmation that we're offline.